light that when it goes off, might escape, it goes off there so they can't see what I'm doing.
Ah, yes.
It's right at 9 o'clock.
Forward, back.
Pointer if you want it.
Okay.
I don't know what that would stop. I mean, how do you stop a PowerPoint? I don't know. I've never tried that one. Good morning. All right. We will have a raffle. I will probably do the raffle in between the two presenters. It is for the 4 centerpieces, so cross your fingers and good luck. We do have some Christmas cards on the table back there that somebody had extras, so if you need a few Christmas cards, they're free for the taking. I think that's all that I can think of. All right. Our first speaker this morning is Anthony Horsch. Anthony is the Director of Education and Interpretation at Cowtown and will present Victorian Christmas for us today. Please welcome Anthony Horsch.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here. We have not started our senior lectures, so it's kind of nice to get back into the swing and visit with a few of you folks this morning. So, at Old Cowtown Museum, how many of you folks have been there before? Ah, okay, we got a few folks. Very good. At Old Cowtown Museum, we try to remind people that history is not exactly what you think it is, that there is actually an evolution and a change as to how we got to where we are. My easiest example is years ago we started Victorian baseball, and whenever people came out, they were quite appalled that, number one, we were pitching underhand, and number two, the fielders didn't have any gloves, and if you caught it on the first bounce, you're still out. So, just because you see a name does not necessarily mean it's the way it has been and has always been. So, right now we are in the middle of Victorian Christmas, and another weekend we will be done with Christmas, which is kind of a strange way to be. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about how we got here. Now, before we start jumping into things, the word Victorian is a little bit of a tricky one because in our era, Queen Victoria was the monarch. She was the ruler of the world, so to speak, the superpower. And so there's a lot of interchange between Victorian American and Victorian England, and I'll try and make sure that I point out the difference. So let's see. Okay. The Christmas that we celebrate is actually a relatively new holiday. It's only about 200 years old in this particular form. Now, we have had all sorts of celebrations around the New Year and winter solstice for centuries. But in our era, the way we do it is not that long gone. In 1840s, you can see on the screen, businessmen in New York were complaining about the slow Valentine sales and hoped that Easter sales would pick up. No mention of Christmas at all. And Christmas really didn't even become a respectable legal holiday until after about 1861 or so, which seems kind of an odd thing. 1870 it becomes a legal holiday with no pay, but at least you got the day off in the District of Columbia. So, now to talk about Victorian Christmas, you have to go back to the roots, and we're going to start out in Rome. In Rome, there was a celebration right around winter solstice called Saturnalia, worshiping the god of Saturn. And it's very interesting because there was a week-long feasting and drinking and all sorts of carousing around, which some people say it kind of relates to the 12 days of Christmas, although that does come after Christmas. But one of the key things is at the bottom there, role reversals, masters catering to their slaves. As part of English Christmas before Victorian times, they elected a person that was called the Lord of Misrule, and he became one of the lower people, became the master of the house and of the time, and so it has some roots there. European festivals at the end of harvest. Will the sun return? Now, today we don't really think that's a real problem, but in this particular time, well, the seasons of nature, the cycle of nature will it return? We don't know. Now, I thought it was very interesting whenever I started doing my research that early Christians did not focus on Christmas. In fact, what's the big deal? The idea of God coming to earth, that's a good feature, but Jesus dying on the cross, that was the real key in the resurrection. And so they really didn't pay attention to Christmas. And so to reinvigorate and focus on that was really a very interesting change. Now, in the 4th century, the Pope picked December 25 as the feast day of the Nativity. Now, some people say it's a misappropriation of another culture. As I'm in the business of interpretation, I'm going to say it was reinterpreted as opposed to misappropriated. So we have this new religion called Christianity. We want to get it into the hearts and minds of the native folk, and so we will go ahead and put a feast day on one of their high holy days as well. As I like to tell school kids, Christmas was an adult holiday. It had nothing to do with children, and that's going to be one of the big changes that the Victorians make. Now, one of the things that I do applaud the Roman Catholic Church for is their education. In this particular era, in the 13 and 1400s, people did not read. Were not schooled in education. Only the people in the church did. And so they had this thing called miracle plays, where they would explain the Bible stories through drama, which is a very effective means of doing it. December 24th is the feast day of the Nativity, and part of that feast is something called the Paradise Tree. We have an evergreen tree because everything else around is brown and dead, and so you have life representing the Garden of Eden, but you also have temptation, so we have apples hanging from the tree. Now, over time, they morphed that into focusing on the redemption as well, and all of a sudden the apples commingled with communion wafers, which to some of my Catholic friends, well, you don't really do that, but just kind of changing the tree of knowledge to the tree of life, and that's a very exciting and changing prospect. The Germans, who we'll focus on in just a little bit more, they created a Christmas pyramid, which I think is very fascinating because it has all the different levels of what are going on. We have a star, we have the light of Christ, we have evergreens, and then for the kids, we have candy, fruits, and nuts, and pastries. And in the 1600s, the Paradise Tree and the Lichtstock joined together, and so now we have the Christmas tree. So, a little background. Now, we jump over to the Protestant Reformation, changes shaking off of the Catholic control and rise of lots of different denominations. Particularly in England, we have a change from the Catholic Church to the Church of England. We are no longer Catholic, but we do keep a lot of the practices, which in the way of interpretation, that seems to be a smart idea. 1645, though, we have Oliver Cromwell and the Puritans. We are going to purify, and we are going to move things back into the biblical interpretation, especially Christmas. And so they got rid of all the carols, the decorated trees, joyful expressions. In 1660, Charles II was restored, but never quite got the religious side of Christmas back again. So, how does that affect us here in the United States or in America? Well, whenever the Pilgrims landed in 1620, they, along with their Baptist and Presbyterian and Quaker brethren, believed that Christmas was an abomination. If you look in the Bible, there is no reference to a particular date. That has been argued over for years. And so the idea that we should be celebrating that just really isn't a good thing. If anything, we should not be joyous. We should actually be very penitential, and we should be very reverential. 1659, we have a Massachusetts law fining people for hanging greens, eating plum pudding, and 5 shillings if you exhibit Christmas spirit. kind of gives you the idea that most of the time these people were walking around pretty glum, I guess. But here in the New World, we were of divided minds, each influenced by religion. Notice that New Amsterdam, New York City, it becomes a very pro-Christmas state, and down in the South, Catholic, Episcopalian, Anglican, Lutheran, Reformed, Moravian are all enjoying Christmas. And that basically is from Virginia on south and Pennsylvania on west is where that's happening. I did find a notice in the top right-hand corner is that public notice about the ban on Christmas. So I thought that was kind of a fun thing to find. So now, after the American Revolution, as one might expect, all things British became very, very repugnant. And so we decide that we are going to exile them and no longer keep them. But some of the secular traditions are hard to stamp out, particularly wassailing, which is basically Christmas caroling, although not necessarily from the religious point of view. The one challenge, though, we are pre-industry. And so there are a lot of men who are looking for work in the middle of winter because before then, agriculture needs an awful lot of laborers. And whenever there's no labor to do, what are these boys and guys going to do? 1828, there was a Christmas riot because they didn't feel like they were getting the kind of returns that they should have gotten. And so New York created a police force, particularly with the idea of quelling that particular thing. Now, this riot terrified the upper class in the United States, and so we've got to do something about it. Now, it wasn't a group of guys getting together and say, what are we going to do about this? But it was more just an idea that was kind of floating around in the ether of the time. These four gentlemen probably had the most to do with creating the Christmas that we celebrate now. Now, John Petard is a very, very interesting fellow, a very devout person, a very serious person, but he's focusing on ways that we can unite ourselves as a country. Very influential. He helps establish Washington's birthday, Columbus Day, 4th of July, and spent nearly 20 years trying to get Christmas to be adopted as a holiday that everybody in the country would celebrate. He helped create something called the St. Nicholas Society, and they had a big meal on December 6th in order to celebrate St. Nicholas and the good things that he did. On top of the picture there, we have a boy holding a switch and a girl holding a present. So we have children who are being good, children who are being bad. And on the left-hand side of that particular drawing, we have a stocking filled with toys as well. In the front of the fireplace, there is a plum pudding. So we have all the elements of what is going to become Christmas. Now, Washington Irving. Washington Irving is well known for that Halloween play, for Ichabod Crane and that particular part. But he was also a very well-written author. Two of his less-known books, but probably more influential book, The Knickerbocker History of New York and The Sketchbook of Geoffrey Crayon Gentleman, both work very, very hard at creating this new idea of what Christmas could be and should be. Now, in the Knickerbocker history, he refers to Santa Claus, or as the Dutch would have said it, Sinterklaas, 23 times in his book. Wow, okay, that's different, that's new. And in the sketchbook, he basically goes through the whole Christmas season in a mythical English manor house that didn't exist. I mean, I think it's amazing that these gentlemen came up with ideas out of whole cloth and basically borrowed from each other as they continued on to create this new holiday or help create it. So, Charles Dickens. Now, a lot of people ridicule Mr. Scrooge and they only really focus on him as being the source of the Christmas Carol book. But Dickens' whole point was to focus on the benefits of goodwill toward men, that the society should be much better. And I was very, very struck that he was actually somewhat biographical, relaying upon incidents that had happened in his own life. His father was in the poorhouse. He had to go to a workhouse and work as a boot black, as well as preparing supplies for kids that are doing shoe shining, and so very well became familiar with the workhouses. So it's rather ironic that whenever Mr. Scrooge is saying, "Are there not the workhouses that you can send these children to?" So he has direct relation to that particular type of thing. So, but a very, very, very influential book. Now, it's a little bit mercenary. He was basically broke, and so he started writing this book with the idea of making money. But as it rolled along and became even more profitable, it became plays. He did a tour through the United States, and so it became a very, very, very good way for reestablishing him in the world of finance and the like. So now, one of the things that the Victorians did is they revised the idea of Father Christmas, or in the United States or America, Santa Claus. Now, you may or may not be familiar who St. Nicholas was. He was a Greek bishop who died on December 6th, which becomes his feast day. There is a myth or a legend that goes with him that he was a very generous man, and that in order to keep a family of 3 girls from falling into prostitution, he threw some gold coins down the chimney, and they landed in the stockings of the girls who were drying their stockings by the fireplace there. And so that is how he saved them from a life of ill repute, and helps us start this whole idea of chimneys and stockings being the places where gifts are. In 1821, here in America, United States, we have a book called Santa Claus, the Child's Friend. Look at that. He only needs 1 reindeer, doesn't need 8. I don't know. If you look at him, he still has kind of his bishop's mitre, and he's dressed in red, so you can see that he might be a morphing of St. Nicholas. But a very, very interesting thing that this is 1821, because in 1823, why, that very, very, very famous book. Now, I never really focused on it until I was visiting with some school kids on Friday. Nowhere in his poem does he mention Santa Claus. In fact, over and over again, he talks about St. Nicholas. But whenever you open up all the books of that particular story, over and over again, you see this jolly man in a red and white suit, and so he must be talking about Santa Claus. But it is hard to focus on how important St. Nicholas, a visit from St. Nicholas, and A Christmas Carol were in creating this new image of what Christmas is going to be. Today, with all of our popular media, everything happens and then is gone. But in these eras, things that were printed, the printed word was very, very powerful and was very, very, very persuasive. And so those two things really helped move the Victorians toward creating the Christmas that we do have now. Now, I wanted to throw this up. It's a little bit out of place, but kind of latches on to the previous thing about Santa Claus. So here we have Santa Claus with no E on the end. And so there he is coming down the chimney. This is, again, the Dutch version. So does he look very inviting to you? I don't know. So, would the real Santa Claus please stand up? I put this up because in the Victorian era, there are so many images of Santa Claus. It's hard to know what he actually looked like. Now, there is a right way he looks, right? One of the books that I show the school kids that I work with is there was an author or an illustrator that believed that Santa Claus must be living up in the north, and so he must be somewhat Eskimo, and so his clothes are brown, and his fur is black and white and brown colored as well. And so I get to flash that in front of the kids, and they all go, "That's not Santa Claus." And I'm like, "Well, have you seen him? Do you actually know what he looks like?" So these are some of the variations that were in popular culture before 1863 or so. 1863, there was an illustrator for Harper's Weekly by the name of Thomas Nast. You probably have seen many of his drawings without even knowing. Did you know that Santa Claus was on the Union side during the Civil War? Don't you love his clothing there? He's got red and white striped pants and blue stars on his back, and so this is what Santa Claus must look like. Now, Harper's and Thomas Nast benefited greatly with new transportation. The Transcontinental Railroad has been established. We now have the telegraph that is going from sea to sea, and so we are having more and more of a creation of a popular common idea of what these things look like. And so here we have 1879 Nast's version of what becomes our common Santa Claus. And I also wanted just to kind of point out the changes. St. Nicholas focuses toward Father Christmas. Here in the United States, we take a couple of left-hand turns, but we finally end up at Santa Claus as well. So, now, Santa is a pretty non-controversial character, right? Because he started from St. Nicholas, right? Well, not exactly. As Santa becomes more and more secularized, he becomes more and more of a lightning rod for a lot of people. There were many, many, many thunderous sermons preached from the pulpits in the United States about the anti-Santa Claus movement, how we need to get rid of this non-religious character, and we must return to the proper way of celebrating Christmas and recognizing Jesus and the like. And I put on the bottom that the battle for Christmas has been going on for much, much, much longer than in recent memory. So now, we can thank the Victorians for introducing the Christmas tree. Now, whenever Albert married Queen Victoria, he brought along his German customs. And the German customs of the paradise tree mixed with that other particular tree, we now have the Christmas tree. And so, now there was a British royal who did bring a Christmas tree into the castle, but there was a problem. Didn't have a PR agent. This is an engraving that goes round and round the world. It is in the Illustrated London Times, and people all over the world are seeing this image. Now, it's hard for us to imagine how influential this particular image is, but also just the whole image of Queen Victoria and her young son. After having decades and decades of old stodgy kings, to have a young, light and lively family who are now inhabiting, it's kind of like, I'm sure you folks remember whenever Princess Diana came onto the scene. Oh, the people in Great Britain went gaga. Oh, wow, this is so neat. It's never been done before. Well, kind of like the same idea. So there's lots of focus, lots of enthusiasm on children, family life, and the like. Now, I wanted to point out the way that this tree was decorated. Apple sugared fruits, which are basically in A Visit from St. Nicholas, we have sugar plums dancing in their heads. Basically, you take fruit, dip it in egg wash, and then dredge it through white sugar, hang it on the tree. Now, I've done that as a demonstration. If you don't eat it very, very quickly, it starts to weep, and it's kind of a messy thing. But in our era, Christmas happens. Christmas Eve is whenever the tree goes up, and so the fruit's on the tree Christmas Day and is probably consumed by most of the children by the end of the day. So that's the other thing that I need to stress with kids that I visit with, is that sugar in our era is not a very common thing. So you kids that get to go down and get a candy bar at Walmart, oh my, you are living such a luxury for our era. It is just so, so, so different. So just to focus on, so we do have sugared fruit, we have gilded walnuts, we have strung popcorn, we have ribbon candy, and in the bottom we have Christmas cookies. Christmas cookies take the place of communion wafers on the paradise tree, and they become what children are looking for on Christmas morning. And I could do a lot of talking about Christmas cookies, but I just wanted to throw this up. Cookies originally started out being made on cookie boards. That's what those wooden pieces are. You basically roll the dough out into those images and gives you kind of a 3D version. So some of you may have those Springle, I think they're called. They're a little round rolling pin that you roll through the dough and you get some relief cookies. It's kind of the same idea. And then over time, the Germans create Christmas cutters and the like. And so, but hanging Christmas cookies on a tree, what a treat, what a treat. So, the other thing that the English are very well known for is gingerbread and plum pudding. Now, ginger, if you're not familiar, it was a very, very, very expensive spice from the Orient. One of the ways, and I find this so ironic, one of the ways to preserve ginger, because it will go bad, is to put it in a baked good, which doesn't seem to make much sense to me, but that was one of the ways that they did. And because it was so expensive, having it at Christmas time was so very, very important. Plum pudding, something in anticipation of Christmas. Right around Thanksgiving, the family would all get together and they would stir up this batter and they would put it into a mold and then they would let it set until Christmas Eve. Well, that doesn't sound very sanitary. My wife, who's a dietitian, kind of freaked out at that idea. But a lot of what goes into the plum pudding are the hot spices, cinnamon and allspice and nutmeg and ginger. And over time, those flavors are going to develop and ripen. And so by the time Christmas Eve rolls around, whenever you get ready to boil it, it is going to become so powerful and so strong. It's just utterly amazing. And so then on Christmas morning, you bring it out for the meal, put a little brandy on top, light it on fire, and it's shimmering and exciting and all that kind of thing. So that's probably my favorite scene in Christmas Carol is whenever Mrs. Cratchit brings out the plum pudding and she's all, I hope this is good enough. And the husband stoically says, my dear, I do believe this is the best you've ever created. Ah, joy, 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 joy. So now, Christmas trees here in the United States. Well, it's a slow evolution, slow acceptance. 1851, a Lutheran pastor tried to put up a Christmas tree in his church and was almost run out of his church because that was just so unchristian. But a year later, the people of the congregation are clamoring that we want a Christmas tree up, so go figure. But I just find the evolution. 51 is whenever that happens. 56 is whenever you have the first Christmas tree in the White House. And 200,000 trees in 1880. So it becomes a booming economic interest. And this is all because of the influence of Queen Victoria and her husband. Now, since we now have trees and we need manufactured items to help. Oh, you want to hold your tree up? Well, here we have some very interesting ways to do it. 1876, the first patented tree stand. I was hoping to bring that along this morning. We do have a copy of one, but our collections person was sick on Friday, so I couldn't get it. But it's a very amazing little mechanical device. But I love the ones on the right-hand side, the emulation of the tree roots and things. So we also have the rise of Christmas ornaments, glass ornaments, to replace those created edible things. 1848, the first glass ornament, the Kugel, which doesn't sound very interesting. But if you've ever seen some of those globes people have in their gardens, those mirror globes, that's kind of where they got their start. And lo and behold, people said, well, why don't we use them at Christmas time? And so then they kind of morph. I just love the way inventions happen over time and get redirected and changed over time. And so 1855, we have Bunsen burners, which are those focused propane and gas torches so that you can more precisely heat and melt and mold things. And so now glass blowers have the possibility of creating all of those different shapes and things. And so created in Germany, brought over to the U.S. in the 1860s, but really not gone crazy here in the United States until 1880. Woolworths, F.W. Woolworth, any of you guys shop at Woolworths whenever they were still around? Yeah, 5 and dime, there you go. He made a whole lot of money bringing over Christmas ornaments. It seems kind of a shame to lose out the edible things that you put on your tree, but that was kind of the evolution. This is an 1882 advertisement from a newspaper. I did not write the citation, but I just love the tree. My gosh. Victorians were known for being very, very, very cluttered in their existence. And I can't even imagine a Christmas tree looking like that. But here we have what's available. Tinsel, again, is a German invention. Originally, they were silver, which none of us could afford. We also have a new printing procedure called lithography. And so all of a sudden, in the scope of about 10 years, we have lots and lots of colored paper that you could cut out in different sizes and shapes, and you could put those on your tree as well. And so we're really progressing fast. But the most important thing, the thing that really gets people going crazy, is the candles. By our era, 1876, we know what electricity is. Thomas Edison has finally produced an electric light bulb, but it hasn't gone widespread. And so people are decorating their trees with candles. Well, that seems to be about the craziest idea, until you know that trees were generally not brought in before Christmas Eve and taken out 12 days after Christmas. And so they're really all in the house not a long time, and they're rather green. But I love number 4, a combination candle and bracket. I love this. Will burn for 3 hours without dripping or danger of fire. Okay, 3 hours. Okay, green Christmas trees I can go for, but 3 hours, I don't know. But look at the ingenuity that these people had in meeting the demand that was going on. So, and in our era, most people had tabletop trees, which is rather amazing whenever I talk to people, especially like I did on Saturday night. Most everybody's looking to get the tallest and most verbose tree that they can find, but we were glad to have a Charlie Brown tree back in our era. So, now, the ironic thing is, now that the Germans have convinced us that we all need to have Christmas trees, they become very, very concerned because the Black Forest is slowly being decimated by all the lumbering that's going on, all of the trees that are being harvested. And so a gentleman took some goose feathers, dyed it green, and wrapped it up and created a feather tree. And so while we in the United States are embracing this new Christmas tree tradition, the folks in Germany are slowly excising that tradition and going more and more toward feather trees. So I think that's kind of an interesting change as well. So the Victorians also revived the activity of the hanging of the greens, a very, very pagan tradition back in our era, coming from the Druids in Ireland and also Scotland, and bringing inside the greenery so that you can have new life happening on. Cromwell and the Puritans had definitely exiled that, and so to bring that back was rather a revolutionary idea. And then we have the kissing ball. Oh my, oh my. And this is actually kind of a revolutionary idea because in Victorian times, public displays of affection was not okay. Not okay. Whenever you walk down the street, even husband and wife, arm in arm is good. Holding hands, that's not good. So the idea that they would embrace this flirtatious kissing seems to be rather amazing to me. But, you know, it's Christmas time, so I guess you do different things. So the Victorians also introduced the idea of hanging presents from the Christmas tree. Now, today I don't think we can hang too many Xboxes from the tree, but it gives you the idea that in our era, most presents that kids are going to get are actually small items. Pocket knife, toothbrush, comb, pieces of candy, things like that. So it was possible. But I love the picture on the right-hand side. And so I challenged a lot of the kids that, how would you like it if mom and dad gave you a stocking full of goodies and that is what you got for Christmas? Oh, no way, no But it does create a new market. So we now have wrapping paper and bows that you can purchase and boxes. And so look at that, lo and behold. So now, as I mentioned earlier, Christmas in the era right before the Victorian times was an adult holiday. But it now becomes, especially with mass production, a holiday for children. And so we have lots and lots of gifts that are being created, toys that are being created, mass produced. Now, they're still tin and cast iron, and they will break, but it just becomes the real revolutionary idea. And it's kind of funny because the Victorians have this real stodgy, eat your peas, or Queen Victoria, we are not amused. And yet, surprisingly enough, the Victorians had a very, very soft and tender heart whenever it came to children. Now, they could be very severe in their discipline, but for the most part, they were very, very generous, at least around Christmas time. They also revived something called Christmas caroling, the idea of going from door to door, singing for each other, and in return getting some sort of treats. Now, in just before this time, wassailing was something that you did. It's kind of Christmas caroling on steroids. You got to invade the house and demand treats and goodies from the owner of the house. And if you did not get appropriate compensation for your singing, you had the right and the ability to create all sorts of havoc in the household. A lot of this was focused on the landlords and people like that, but it was still. So the Victorians said, no, we're just going to go singing door to door, and that'll be okay. And if you get some peppermint, and if you get a little hot chocolate, that would be a wonderful thing. In the 1850s, we also have the proliferation of pianos and also reed organs. Reed organs were so durable. The amount of reed organs that we get offered as a museum is just incredible because they're practically indestructible. And they made it over in the wagon trains, and so they become the way in way people are putting music inside of their houses. And so what are you going to play? Well, something light and airy and ditty, and so you're probably not going to play hymns. You're probably going to play Christmas carols. Now, a real controversy. Do Christmas carols, do they join church services? In 1700, the Church of England let one Christmas carol in, and they don't let another one in for 82 years. And there are some people over in England that still decry the fact that we let all of these everyday pedestrian songs join our canon of songs and the like. But I gave you just a quick outline. You can see some of the Christmas carols that are not hymns that I think are so fascinating. If you look through that list, if we excise those, you kind of wonder what songs we would be singing. Because I, for the life of me, have a hard time remembering what some of the Christmas hymns might be. So we also have Christmas cards. Thank the Victorians for those of you that keep lists and try to send them out every year. 1843 was the first Christmas card that was created. Although we have 3 generations toasting the card's recipient, he got into a little bit of flack. At this particular time, the temperance movement is starting to grow. And so the idea that we have people feasting with alcohol, that may not be such a good idea. Anyways, he created 1,000 of these and gave them to some of his closest friends and started a trend. But I love the fact that he counterbalances the feasting with also the giving of the poor with food and clothing. Here in the United States, Louis Prang becomes the first Christmas card producer. He is one of the great lithographers in the United States and really capitalizes on it. And so he mass produces a lot of Christmas cards, and it becomes more and more of the raging thing. His competitors, Currier and Ives, are also lithographers. Prang is a little bit more high-priced, and Currier and Ives produce Christmas cards on much cheaper paper and for much cheaper. So Most people recognize Currier and Ives' prints a lot more than Mr. Prang, but Mr. Prang is probably the one that really kicks off the ball and gets it rolling. So the Victorian era lasts 1837 to 1901. Old Cowtown Museum is right smack dab in the middle, 1870. And if you look at all of the changes, look at all the good things that they brought to our Christmas celebration. Can you imagine not having a Christmas tree? Can you imagine not having any Christmas cards? No Santa Claus, no mistletoe, no Christmas carol. Can you imagine all the tales of Scrooge that have been retold if we didn't have those? Think about how things would change. So anyways, Merry Christmas to you all. I don't know what is your practice. I would certainly entertain questions, or if you have some reminiscence or things that you'd like to share, I would certainly be open to that sort of thing. So that's one of the joys of this. Any questions?
When did Rudolph come into this?
Rudolph, yes. Whenever I go through the Christmas, a visit from St. Nicholas, I always stop and I ask the kids, aren't we missing a reindeer? Yeah, Rudolph doesn't come in until about the 1950s, and we can thank one of our country western singers for introducing Rudolph as a staple of Christmas now. So, very good. Anything else?
Well, the rest of the reindeers, I mean, we saw in the pictures there were one, and then all of a sudden, now
there's 8, and then there's 9. It's hard for me to imagine what Christmas was like without children. I just can't even imagine what that must have been like. But a lot of drinking, carousing, and things like. But that's what Christmas was like before the Victorians rolled around. Now, they are not the originators of a lot of these things. They are actually more the reviver of those traditions, but they kind of put it in a nice little package that didn't exist before. And so that's what makes it so exciting and so interesting. Who knows what traditions we're going to have in the future? Things are changing and things are changing, but I sure hope we don't lose the ones that we have up here on the screen. So, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you being such an attentive audience, and I'm glad to share this bit of history with you. So thank you so much. So there's a raffle going on? Is that what that is? No. Is this a fundraising? Did you have to buy a ticket, or do you just... Oh, just for fun? Okay. I was at a raffle at one of our Native American powwows the other night, and the tickets were $1 a piece, and this one guy bought 50 tickets because he wanted to win for sure, but he didn't.
All right, pull out your tickets. I'm going to just read the last 3 numbers, okay? 497. All right. So just whichever, at the end, if you want to just take one. 485. Tickets. 496. And the last one is ripped. 520. Okay. Do we have 4 winners? Raise your hands, winners. 2, 3, 4. Okay. Thank you. All right. We will take a short break. We will reconvene at 10. Except I have to. And not such a good idea. We have to eject yours.
saw some flowers growing on the side of it.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I said, Dad, I'd like to take some home to Mom. I don't know what I'd put them in. Well, he pondered a bit and said, son, flowers are like a woman's smile. When they're grinning at you, you don't care what you do. Put them in a tin can. Wildflowers in a tin can. On a paper bag we made our plans. Hot dogs for the campfire. Cane poles for fishing. He taught me how to change a tire. Warned me about my desires. Where the heck did you hide Check one, check, check. 'Twas the night before Christmas, all through the house. check one, check. Well, I've got 10 o'clock here. Yeah. Last time we did this, I was looking at a video camera, and so I was so glad to see faces here today. Yeah. Well, you know my rule. If you do have requests, try and keep them to yourself. This is hard enough as it is. I sure do like those Christmas cookies, sugar. I sure do like those Christmas cookies, babe. The ones that look like Santa Claus, Christmas trees and bells and stars. Sure do like those Christmas cookies, babe. Now Christmas cookies are a special treat. The more she bakes, the more I eat. Sometimes I can't get myself to stop. Sometimes she'll wait till I'm asleep, take the ones that I didn't eat, and put those little sprinkly things on top. I sure do like those Christmas cookies, sugar. I sure do like those Christmas cookies, babe. The ones that look like Santa Claus, Christmas trees and bells and stars. Sure do like those Christmas cookies, babe. Now those sprinkly things just make things worse, 'cause they make them taste better than they did at first. They're absolutely impossible to resist. Some disappear to who knows where, but I make sure that I get my share, and those kids just stand there waiting for the ones I miss. I sure do like those Christmas cookies, sugar. I sure do like those Christmas cookies, babe. She gets mad if they're all gone before she gets the icing put on. I sure do like those Christmas cookies, babe. Now there's a benefit to all of this that you might have overlooked or missed, so let me tell you now the best part of it all. See, every time she puts a new batch in the oven, there's 15 minutes for some kissing and a hugging. That's why I eat Christmas cookies all year long, yeah. I sure do like those Christmas cookies, sugar. I sure do like those Christmas cookies, babe. The ones that look like Santa Claus, Christmas trees and bells and stars. Sure do like those Christmas cookies, babe. I sure do like those Christmas cookies, babe. Yeah. Well, there was this young man in high school who was trying to talk his father into getting him some wheels, a new car. His dad said, "Son, you know, there's 3 things have to happen before we can even discuss that. Number 1, you got to get your grades up. Number 2, I would like to see you start reading the Bible a little bit. You don't have to read it every day, but I want to see you studying God's Word. And thirdly, you have to get a haircut, and we can discuss this." So a couple months went by, and the father said, "Son, I'm real proud of you getting your grades up. I see you've been going to Sunday school and reading the Bible a little bit, but you haven't gotten a haircut." The boy said, "Yeah, Dad, I've been reading there in the Bible where John the Baptist had long hair, and Samson had long hair, and Jesus had long hair too." And the father said, "Yeah, and I bet you didn't see them driving anywhere." Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains and the mountains in we got Jerry and Sandy DeWitt here, and I heard a story about them not too long ago. I don't know if it's true or not, but they were heard in a private conversation, and Jerry says to Sandy, "You know, your underwear is really tight, pretty darn revealing." She says, "Well, then wear your own." When I grow up, I want to be a 3-year-old, you know, and I learn how to work a computer. Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. It's a beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland. Gone away is the bluebird, here to stay is the new bird. He sings a love song as we go along, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he is Parson Brown. He'll say, "Are you married?" We'll say, "No, man, but you can do the job when you're in town." Later on we'll conspire as we dream by the fire to face unafraid the plans that we made, walking in a winter wonderland. In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he's a circus clown. We'll have lots of fun with Mr. Snowman and tell the other kiddies knock him down. When it snows, ain't it thrilling? Though your nose gets to chillin', we'll frolic and play the Eskimo way, walking in a winter wonderland, walking in a winter wonderland. Well, you know, lately, since coronavirus has been going on, COVID, this and that, everything lately, my body's absorbed so much soap and disinfectant that when I pee, it cleans the toilet. You believe that, John? Did you hear what happened last Saturday night? While dancing and drinking, we all got half-tight. This sweet thing named Charmin was dancing with me when up jumped her boyfriend and he hollered at me, "Please don't squeeze my Charmin, don't hold her so tight, you'd best heed my warning, it's your last one tonight." She's soft and she's gentle and she's sweet as can be. Charmin needs squeezing, well, leave that to me. And if Charmin needs squeezing, leave squeezing to me. Hey! I played at Lake Point Nursing Home last month or month before that. And I was in the bathroom washing my hands and drying. I was all done with everything important. And the lady walks in to steal some paper towels, lady that worked there. Pretty shameless, you know. But anyway, and the door was open, and so I was kidding somebody else about coming in, you know, in the men's room, and I had to make sure I was in the right spots, you know. So then later at the show, I got ready to do that song, and they introduced me, and this lady's name was Charmin. And I told the crowd, I said, "Yeah, she came to visit me in the men's room a while ago." I said, But, we didn't do any squeezing. My grandpa outlived Grandma by a few years, and man, he loved to go fishing. He had his own private fishing hole he'd go down to. 3 or 4 times a week he'd try and cast a line. One time he got down there to the pond and discovered there was a bunch of college women skinny dipping in his fishing hole. I was kind of nervous about seeing a man come down there, so he said, "Ladies, don't mind me. I'm no pervert. I'm not here to try to catch a glimpse of anybody. I'm just here to feed my alligators." Coffee black, cigarette. Start this day like all the rest. The first thing every morning that I do is start missing you. Some broken hearts never mend. Some memories never end. Some tears will never dry. My love for you will never die. A rendezvous in the night. A willing woman to hold me tight. Yet in the middle of love's embrace, I see your face. Some broken hearts never mend. Some memories never end. Some tears will never dry. My love for you will never die. Here's an old one by Dean Martin. Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Well, it doesn't show signs of stopping, and I brought some corn for popping. The lights are turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. When we finally kiss goodnight, how I hate going out in the storm. But if you really hold me tight, all the way home I'll be warm. Well, the fire is slowly dying, and my dear, we're still goodbye. As long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Well, I got something new to try out for you guys. Some of you pet lovers out there might think this is morbid, but I think it's hilarious. In fact, it made my new record coming out here about Christmas time. It was supposed to be out this week, but it might be Christmas. So, if you listen to 107.9 KWLS in Wichita, they play my songs quite a bit, especially off this new album that's coming. Well, all her friends have got one. She says she wants one too. A nearly fuzzy fur coat, and nothing else will do. She said she'd look real classy and make me proud of her if I'd just break down and buy her a fur. Well, that got me to thinking, how can I swing this deal? Lord knows knows I can't afford one, and it ain't right to steal. But the problem finally solved itself like a bolt out of the blue. Jumped out right in front of me on Highway 42. That big old German Shepherd, my car it did not see. Now he's in doggy heaven, but his hide belongs to me. For 3 weeks in the basement, I worked most every night. It was mostly trial and error, but I finally got it right. Well, I put it in a fancy box and carried it upstairs to her. Why, she was tickled pink to get that fur. Now she's got a fuzzy fur coat, reaches clear down to her knees. But she's been complaining lately, says her closet's full of fleas. Well, she don't know that Fido is wrapped around her tight. She's been putting on the dog when she goes out at night. But she's been depressed here lately since I backed out or the cat. But I think she'll be real happy when I give her a new fur hat. Hey! Well, there were these 4 brothers. They were all real successful doctors and lawyers and things. They got together to discuss what they could do to help their aging mother who was starting to fail. The first son said, well, I'm going to build Mom a big, beautiful mansion. The second son said, in that mansion, I'm going to put an in-home movie theater for her and 20 of her friends. They can watch those old rerun shows together. Third son said, I'm going to buy Mom a brand new Mercedes-Benz. Fourth son went and made a phone call. He come back. He said, you know how Mama loved to read the Bible? Lately, her eyesight's been getting so bad. So I have spoken to the pastor at her church, and he is in touch with a man that has a parrot that you can rent for $1 million a year. And this parrot will come and live with Mama, and it has memorized the entire Bible. Took a whole team of pastors a long time to train him, but he's got it down pat. He'll quote the Bible to Mama anytime she would like, chapter and verse. So the other brothers are pretty impressed by this, you know. So some time went by, and the mother sent out her thank you cards. She told the first son, thank you so much for my big, beautiful home. It's so huge, I barely leave one room. She told the second son, thanks for my in-home movie theater, but you know what? Most of my friends are dead. I don't go in there by myself very much. She told the third son, thanks for my new wheels, but you know what? I barely leave the house anymore. Shop online, my neighbors take good care of me. She told the fourth son, thank you so much for your thoughtful gift. That little chicken was delicious. Oh, you know, I got a redneck cousin named Lester. Lester's a good old boy. But he was the ugliest baby that was ever born in Butler County. In fact, it was so bad that his mama didn't get the morning sickness until after he was born. She'd put him out in the sandbox when he's just a little fella, you know. He'd be playing there in the sand pile, and them kitty cats would all come and try to cover him up. But Lester growed up, he got married. He married a beautiful woman, and as a matter of fact, they just celebrated 5 years here last week, marriage. So they were excited about that. She said, let's go out for dinner. Take me out to that fancy place, you know, the one where they make the food there right in front of you. So he took her to Subway. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell chiming, jingle bell time, dancing and prancing in Jingle Bell Square. In the frosty air, what a bright time, it's the right time to rock the night away. Jingle bell time is a swell time to go riding in a one-horse sleigh. Giddy up, jingle horse, pick up your feet, jingle around the clock. A mix and a mingle in the jingling beat, that's the Jingle Bell Rock. Jingle bell, jingle bell, jingle bell rock. Jingle bells chiming, jingle bell time, dancing and prancing in Jingle Bell Square. In the frosty air, what a bright time, it's the right time to rock the night away. Jingle bell time is a swell time to go riding in a one-horse sleigh. Hey, giddy up, jingle horse, pick up your feet, jingle around the clock. Mix and a mingle in the jingling beat, that's the jingle bell, that's the jingle bell, that's the Jingle Bell Rock. Now, my cousin Lester has a brother named Billy Bob, and the two of them together are really something. So they were at the cabin at home on the back porch not too long ago. Lester's wife Maria was bringing him cold beer out there, and they were discussing life and the world. Lester says, you know, brother, I think I'm about ready to take me another vacation. And you know how I've been taking your advice these last few years on where to go. 4 years ago, you said, go to Hawaii. Hawaii is beautiful. And you know it was. Saw the lava, enjoyed the surf, but Maria got pregnant. And then 2 years ago, you said, go to the Caribbean. The Caribbean is fantastic. And you know it was, especially the tequila. But Maria got pregnant again. And then just this last year, you said, go to the south of France. Southern France is glorious. And you know it was. But Maria got pregnant again. So I've got to do something different in my planning this year. Well, what's that, Lester? Well, this year, I'm going to take Maria with me. Did you get it, John? I can explain it after the show if we need to, okay? Here's one that's kind of cute, and I dedicate this song to the Grinch because it's a little bit of a negative. But it's something we all kind of go through. This is about the wrath of the holidays. My buddy Don Eves out by Garden City wrote this song. The tinsel is tangled and you're mad as heck. The bottom of the tree, the dog is wet. Your MasterCard's on fire, now you regret. Everyone got a present, you got the deadest sad time of year. We all know we do the crazy Christmas tango and it's out of control. The season starts earlier every year. It's barely gone, then again it's here. Christmas is a-startin' and it's bye, bye, bye. The jingle bells play on the 4th of July. It's that magic time. We all know we do the crazy Christmas tango and it's out of control. Oh, crazy Christmas tango, a tango tinsel rodeo. The countdown starts on Christmas Eve. Just 2 more days till the relatives leave. Well, we're glad to see them come, but oh, when they go, we do the crazy Christmas tango and it's out of control. Mama shops till she drops, how she perseveres, looking for a present that is cheap and sincere. Trying to buy a gift for kids that have everything. Even old Sandy doesn't know what to bring. It's that time of year. We all know we do the crazy Christmas tango and it's out of control. Well, Daddy's adding up the bills and he gets mad. Christmas costs more money than he's ever had. shouting at Mama as she turns pale. We went broke saving money, buying things on sale. It's that time of year. We all know we do the crazy Christmas tango and it's out of control. Oh, crazy Christmas tango, a tango tinsel rodeo. The countdown starts on Christmas Eve. Just 2 more days till the relatives leave. Well, we're glad to see them come, but oh, when they go, we do the crazy Christmas tango and it's out of control. The crazy Christmas tango and it's out of control. We do the crazy Christmas tango and it's out of control. Whoa. All right, this next one could almost be a gospel song, not quite. Well, when I was a kid, I'd take a trip every summer down to Mississippi to visit my granny in her antebellum world. I'd run barefooted all day long, climbing trees as free as a song. One day I happened to catch myself a squirrel. Well, I stuffed him down in an old shoebox, punched a couple of holes in the top, and when Sunday come, I snuck him into church. I was sitting way back in the very last pew, showing him to my good buddy Hugh, and that squirrel got loose and went totally berserk. What happened next is hard to tell. Some thought it was heaven, others thought it was hell, but the fact that something was among us was plain to see. As the choir sang I Surrender All, the squirrel ran up Harv Newland's coveralls. Harv leaped to his feet and said, something's got a hold on me. Yow! The day the squirrel went berserk in the First Self-Righteous Church in that sleepy little town of Pascagoula. It was a fight for survival. It broke out in revival. They were jumping pews and shouting hallelujah. Well, Harv hit the aisle dancing and screaming. Some thought he had religion, others thought he had a demon. Harv thought he had a weed eater loose in his Fruit of the Looms. He fell to his knees to plead and beg. The squirrel ran out of his breeches leg unobserved to the other side of the room. All the way down to the amen pew where sat Sister Bertha Better Than You, who'd been watching all the commotion with sadistic glee. Well, you should have seen that look in her eyes when the squirrel jumped her garters and crossed her thighs. She jumped to her feet and said, Lord, have mercy on me. As the squirrel made laps inside her dress, she began to cry and then to confess the sins that would make a sailor blush with shame. She told of gossip and church dissension, but the thing that got the most attention was when she talked about her love life. Then she started naming names. The day the squirrel went berserk in the First Self-Righteous Church in that sleepy little town of Pascagoula. It was a fight for survival that broke out in revival. They were jumping pews and shouting hallelujah. Well, 7 deacons and the pastor got saved, and $25,000 got raised, and 50 volunteered for missions in the Congo on the spot. And even without an invitation, there were at least 500 rededications, and we all got rebaptized, whether we needed it or not. Now, you've heard the Bible stories, I guess, how he parted the water for Moses to pass, all the miracles God has brought to this old world. But the one I remember till my dying day is how he put that church back on the narrow way with a half-crazed Mississippi squirrel. The day the squirrel went berserk in the First Self-Righteous Church in that sleepy little town of Pascagoula. It was a fight for survival that broke out in revival, jumping pews and shouting hallelujah. They were jumping pews and shouting hallelujah. Oh, well, I want to do the night before Christmas at the nursing home, okay? This is the story about that. At the nursing home, okay? Are you ready? 'Twas the night before Christmas at Rockaway Rest, and all of us seniors were looking our best. Our glasses how sparkly, our wrinkles how merry. The punch bowl held prune juice plus 3 drops of sherry. A bedsock was taped to each walker in hope that Santa would bring us soft candy and soap. We surely were lucky to be there with friends secure in this residence and in our depends. Our grandkids had sent us some Christmassy crafts like angels in snowsuits and penguins on rafts. The dental assistant had borrowed our teeth, and from them she'd crafted a holiday wreath. The bedpans so shiny all stood in a row, reflecting our candle's magnificent glow. Our supper, how so festive, the joy wouldn't stop. 'Twas creamy, warm oatmeal with sprinkles on top. Our salad was Jell-O so jiggly and great, and then puree of fruitcake was spooned on each plate. The social director then had us play games like, where are you living, and what are your names? Old Grandfather Looper was feeling his oats, proclaiming that reindeer were nothing but goats. Our resident wanderer was tied to her chair in hopes that at bedtime she still would be there. Security lights and the new fallen snow made outdoors seem like noon to the old folks below. Then out on the porch there arose quite a clatter, but we are so deaf that it just didn't matter. A strange little fellow flew in through the door, then tripped on the seal and fell flat on the floor. 'Twas just our director, all toggled in red. He jiggled and chuckled and patted each head. We knew from the way that he strutted and jibed that our Social Security checks had arrived. We sang how we sang in our monotone croak till the clock tinkled out its soft 8 p.m. stroke. And soon we were snuggling deep in our beds while nurses distributed nocturnal meds. And so ends our Christmas at Rockaway Rest. Soon you'll be with us. We wish you the best. Isn't that kind of funny? Let's do a couple of actual carols, all right? You guys sing with me? Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the earth, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills, and plains repeat the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy. Repeat, repeat the sounding joy. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glory of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love, and wonders, wonders of his love, and wonders, wonders of his love. You know, before coronavirus hit, I went out on a Caribbean cruise with the band a couple years ago. And this one morning I got up early. We were out to sea. I woke up early. And for some reason I thought I'd go up on the top deck and look out at the ocean there. I got up there, clear to the front of the ship, and there was this older lady standing clear to the edge, and she was holding her hat with both hands and looking out at the ocean. I went up to her and I said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry to bother you, but your dress is blowing up." She said, "Well, but I need both of my hands to hang on to my hat." I said, "But ma'am, your rear end is kind of exposed to the rest of the ship." She turned around and she looked at me. She said, "Sonny, anything down there is 95 years old. I just got this hat." City sidewalks, busy sidewalks, dressed in holiday style. In the air there's a feeling of Christmas. Children laughing, people passing, meeting smile after smile. And on every street corner you hear silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. Strings of street lights, even stoplights, twinkle bright red and green as the shoppers rush home with their treasures. Hear the snow crunch, see the kids bunch. This is Santa's big scene. And above all the bustle, you hear silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city. Ring-a-ling, hear them ring. Soon it will be Christmas Day. Soon it will be Christmas Day. Whenever I chance to meet some old friends on the street, they wonder, how does a man get to feel this way? I always got a smiling face, anytime, any place. And every time they ask me why, I just smile and say, you've got to kiss an angel good morning and let her know you think about her when you're gone. Kiss an angel good morning and love her like the devil when you get back home. Well, I got a little niece, and she's 4 this year, this summer. My sister's daughter. And we were out in Kylie's backyard, my little sis, and had the campfire going and singing some songs. The family was, and I was playing that song. Clara, the 4-year-old, wanted to sing it. So I said, okay. So she goes, kiss an angel good morning and beat her like the devil when you get back home. I don't know where that came from, but you don't argue with a 4-year-old. So, and she started school this fall. And I had commented, I said, Claire, I like your shirt. She said, you can't wear it. I said, I didn't ask. She said, because you're too fat. Well, a few years ago, I was passing by this little church, and it was open. I went into it, and there was an old lady praying on the front row, and she was praying out loud, and I heard her say, Lord, it's been such a rough couple of years for me. Last year, you took home my favorite singer, George Jones, and then this year, Lord, you took home my favorite actor and my favorite comedian, James Garner and Robin Williams. So, Lord, I just wanted to let you know that my favorite politicians are Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi. Now, we don't want to get real political here today, you know, but I do think it's just food for thought. Jerry, you know, I think maybe we have the only president in United States history that would be capable of hiding his own Easter eggs. All right. Let's try this one here. Big Sam left Seattle in the year of 92. with George Pratt, his partner, and brother Billy too. They crossed the Yukon River and found the Bonanza Gold below that old white mountain, just a little southeast of Nome. They crossed the majestic mountains to the valleys far below. He talked to his team of Huskies as he mushed on through the snow, with the northern lights running wild, the land of the midnight sun. Yes, Sam McCord was a mighty man in the year of 1901. Where the river is winding, big nuggets they're finding. North to Alaska, go north, the rush is on. I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the ties that bind, because you're mine. I walk the line. I find it very, very easy to be true. I find myself alone when each day is through. Yes, I'll admit that I'm a fool for you, because you're mine. I walk the line. There's a long black train coming down the line, feeding off the souls that are lost and crying. Rails of sin, only evil remains. Watch out, brother, for that long black train. But you know there's victory in the Lord, I say. Victory in the Lord. Cling to the Father and His holy name, and don't go right on that long black train. Yeah, watch out, brother, for that long black train. 'Cause that old devil's driving that long black train. Long black train. Thank you. I rewrote the words to Margaritaville. I call this Coronaville. Afraid of Corona, you know I ain't gonna venture out too far from my home. We're shopping online, so Christmas will be fine. Wishing I was quarantined alone, wasted away here in Coronaville, searching for my soap, disinfectant and all. Some people claim that there's a virus to blame, but I know it's all China's fault. I stepped up for TP and to buy me some red beans, but when I got to the Walmart, the shelves were all bare. But I've got some corn cobs, they're good for tough jobs. And there's those Christmas sweaters that I never wear. Wasted away here in Coronaville, searching for my soap, disinfectant and all. Some people claim that there's a virus to blame, but I know it's all China's fault. I've been on a diet here these last couple of weeks. I feel like I've done pretty darn good. The last 2 weeks, Mickey, I've tightened my belt 2 notches. I can't breathe, but my belt's tighter. Rocking around the Christmas tree at the Christmas party hop. Mistletoe hung where you can see, every couple tries to stop. Rocking around the Christmas tree, let the Christmas spirit ring. Later we'll have some pumpkin pie and we'll do some caroling. You will get a sentimental feeling when you hear voices singing, let's be jolly, deck the halls with boughs of holly. Rocking around the Christmas tree, have a happy holiday. Everyone dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way. You will get a sentimental feeling when you hear voices singing, let's be jolly, deck the halls with boughs of holly. Rocking around the Christmas tree, have a happy holiday. Everyone dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way. Everyone dancing merrily in the new old-fashioned way. Hey, where did we go? Days when the rain came down in the hollow, playing a new game, laughing and a running, hey, hey, skipping and a jumping in the misty morning fog, with our hearts a thumping, and you, my brown-eyed girl. You, my brown-eyed girl. Whatever happened? Tuesdays and so slow, going down the old mine with a transistor radio, standing in the sunlight laughing, hide behind the rainbow's wall, slipping and sliding all along the waterfall with you, my brown-eyed girl. You, my brown-eyed girl. Do you remember when we used to sing sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-ti-da? Sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-ti-da, la-ti-da. Trish, how we doing on time? We got till 11? Yeah, okay. Well, here's one, you might have heard this one before, but Johnny Cash did this one. It's one of my favorites by him to play. Not one of his greatest hits, but a lot of fun. If you ever need a really good laugh, look up the music video for this song, Johnny Cash, The Chicken in Black. Well, for 2 long years my head hurt bad, so the doctor checked me and he shook his head, said, I'm sorry to tell you, but your body's outlived your brain. Said, I know this doctor in New York, son. He'll fix you up with a brand new one, so the head doctor met me when I stepped down off of the train. He said we had this bank robber killed last night. His body shot up, but his brain's all right. I'll give you a transplant, boy. You'll be okay. I got my new brain in, and I was feeling great. Went right back to Nashville with no headache. But something strange happened when I walked in the bank one day. I said, stick 'em up, everybody, I'm robbing this place. Drop all of your money in my guitar case. Don't nobody move and don't nobody reach for that door. This lady said, why, you're Johnny Cash. I said, no, ma'am. I'm the Manhattan Flash, and I am the best bank robber in New York. Well, the other night, Roy Acuff called me, said, John, we'd like you to do the Opry. So I went out on the stage, but I couldn't sing. Got into half a verse, I walked the line, and something snapped in this head of mine, and I yelled, stick 'em up, give me your money, your watches and rings. Well, I called New York and talked to that brain quack. I said, Doc, I gotta have my old brain back. He said, I'm sorry there, Mr. Cash, but I can't do that. He said, I put your brain in a chicken last Monday. He's singing your songs and making lots of money, and I got him signed to a 10-year recording contract. So friends, if you see me walking down the street, remember what you see ain't necessarily me. And if I try to hold you up, don't pay me no mind. But when you got $10 that you can blow, you ought to catch that Johnny Chicken show. He's doing fairs and dates all up and down the line. I stick 'em up, everybody, I'm robbing this place. Drop all of your money in my guitar case. Don't nobody move and don't nobody reach for that door. This lady said, why, you're Johnny Cash. I said, no, ma'am. I'm the Manhattan Flash, and I am the best bank robber in New York. Well, I don't pay any income tax. You don't pay tax on money you steal. Don't forget that Johnny Chicken show. The chicken in black. Well, it wouldn't be right unless I did this song. I don't know what's going on with my voice, but I feel like I got gravel in there. Let's try this one. Mary, did you know that your baby boy would someday walk on water? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would save our sons and daughters? Did you know that your baby boy has come to make you new? And this child that you deliver will soon deliver you. Mary, did you know that your baby boy would give sight to the blind man? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would calm a storm with his hand? Did you know that your baby boy has walked where angels trod? When you've kissed your little baby, you've kissed the face of God. Oh, Mary, did you know? The blind will see, the deaf will hear, the dead will live again. The lame will leap, the dumb will speak. Praises of the Lamb. Mary, did you know? Mary, did you know that your baby boy is Lord of all creation? Mary, did you know that your baby boy would one day rule the nations? Did you know your baby boy is heaven's perfect lamb? And the sleeping child you're holding is the great I You know, I gotta say, we got a terrific looking bunch of folks here today. Wouldn't you say so, Sandy? I mean, genuinely just some good looking human beings here. I mean, there's a few weeds in the garden, but what can you do? Here's one my daddy used to sing to Mama when he really wanted to get on her nerves. And, you know, the embarrassing thing is I was probably close to 30 before I realized my dad didn't actually write this song. Put another log on the fire. Cook me up some bacon and some beans. Go out to the car and change the tire. Wash my socks and sew my old blue jeans. Come on, baby, you can fill my pipe. Then go fetch my slippers. Boil me up another pot of tea. Then put another log on the fire. Come and tell me why you're leaving me. Don't I let you wash my car on Sundays? Don't I warn you when you're getting fat? Ain't I gonna take you fishing with me one day? Well, a man can't love a woman more than that. Ain't I always nice to your kid sister? Don't I take her driving every night? So sit here at my feet, 'cause I like it when you're sweet. And you know it ain't feminine to fight. So put another log on the fire. Cook me up some bacon and some beans. Go out to the car and change the tire. Wash my socks and sew my old blue jeans. Come on, baby, you can fill my pipe. Then go fetch my slippers. Boil me up another pot of tea. Then put another log on the fire. Come and tell me why you're leaving me. Put another log on the fire. Come and tell me why you're leaving me. Well, we are out of time today, but thank you guys for listening to me. Trish, thanks for letting me come and sing again this year. Maybe we'll do it on down the road. I do need to let you know, New Year's Eve, I'm going to be at the Prairie Rose with my band. We're doing the dance there again, and we played it in 19, and then COVID hit, so we didn't get to do one last year, but we're doing it this year. And they do the countdown. I do the countdown at 10 p.m., all right? So that's midnight. We set all the clocks an hour early then for our event, and so we can have you out the door before all the real crazies get out. You guys have a Merry Christmas. Thanks again. God bless you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Rusty, and congratulations to our winners. Make sure you take your centerpieces. And Rusty does have some stuff for sale over here. If you're interested, go visit his table, okay? Thanks, guys. I will see you in February, and Merry Christmas to all of you.